in your iPad, go into settings. So if you did not grab an iPad, go grab one from that cart. Settings. You should see, I'm sorry, this picture is a little blurry. You should see on the side something that says classroom in orange. Click that. And then you should see classes that were already added. Yours will say add 5th period. Not first block, but add 5th period. So go ahead and add that. And there's going to be a name in there already. So this will say 5th block or 5th period. You are going to change your name or change that name to your first and last name. And then you're going to put in this code.
I'm going to school name Zaharia.
You were in, I see 2.
I'm missing 2, and there's 20. One of us. Okay.
I'm at 6, 7. In a moment, but hold on. Okay, we're going to do, you have a few things on your desk. One is a calculator sheet. We're going to do that in a minute. One is a set of notes. This is not the first page, but you will need to find this page in those notes. We're going to work on that first. And then the other is a blue sheet of paper that has a bunch of desmos tips. So in your evaluating notes, find the paper on notes. Going to talk about order of operations just so we're all on the same page. Some of us learned it PEMDAS, some of us learned it GEMDAS, some of us learned GERMDAS, germs, gems, all of the different things. We all mean the same thing. So that we're all on the same page, I'm going to go through these. So the first one is grouping. And grouping is all of your different types of grouping. Parentheses, square brackets, curly brackets. One of these is going to look right, the other is not. If you want to look at your calculator and look right above the parentheses, that's what they should look like. Mine don't ever. But also absolute value bars. All of those are different groupings. Right. Then we have exponents and radicals. Exponents is kind of self-explanatory. You raise to the second power, third, so on and so forth. Radicals are your square root, cube root, and nth root. Nth root is really any root, any number root. We are really only going to talk about cube and square, but you may have a fourth root, fifth root, something like that. And then next is multiply or divide. But reading left to right. So whichever comes first. So if you see a division before a multiplication, as long as you're reading left to right, it does not matter which comes first. And then same thing with addition and subtraction. remember if you're going to do this, grouping, the next one is radical, then multiplying, divide, then adding and subtracting. Now, some of that might get mixed, like if you're doing grouping, but there are addition, subtraction, or multiplying and dividing inside of the grouping, you may have to do that. Right? I want you to try a couple of these by hand. You can talk to the people around you, see if you've got the same thing. You can use your calculator. But I do want you to try everything. Make sure you're putting everything in the right order. This one and this one. Try those two, and then in a couple minutes I'll let you use desmos. If you need help with anything or have questions, let me know. All right, go ahead and try those two. Okay, so I'm going to talk through both of these. You can see where you went wrong, / fix it, / fix it for next time. Okay, so for the first one, you should have did whatever was grouping, so inside the parentheses, multiplication before addition, so multiply 6 and -2, then subtract, and Mr. Dunn was just explaining the parentheses thing. Did he actually do it in the calculator?
Yes.
He did, okay. So make sure that you are using parentheses, putting the square on the outside, all those things, to get that positive. Then multiply and then subtract. So -305 was the correct answer for that one.
Woohoo!
Wait, what? Oh, should be I only got one. Maybe so fast it's not. Alright, the second one, order of operations, we would do grouping first, but in this grouping, we would need to do the radical. So since we're at the radical stage, we can also do the exponent. So you didn't have to, you could have done that later. I'm just saying you can do them at the same time. Then go back and finish the grouping, so subtract. Then multiply. Then normally we would divide first, but we cannot divide until this is simplified or subtract. So we have to subtract this and then divide. So -17 was the correct answer for that one. Right? If you did not put your phone up, go do that.
Why is it -2 last positive?
So here, this would be -4 times -4. And that's how we're going to call it. Please, put your phone up. What did you just have? Okay. Alright, other questions about evaluating? Okay, so then we are going to finish the rest of this in a moment. We're going to do some calculator things so that we are all on the same page with calculation. On your calculator sheet, I want you to write these things down as well as do what I'm doing.
No, she wants what I have.
So the other day we talked about resetting the calculator. So we might want to reset it every time we come in just to make sure we're all on the same page. We're not using someone else's. So second plus 712. Do that on your calculator, but also write that on your calculator page. Second plus 712.
Ram clear.
Yes, that is what should happen.
This is ram.
I need my Right. If at any point you get lost or forget what I said, the buttons that I pressed are also up here.
Second plus 7.
So try it again. Second plus. Alright, so that is one. We talked about how to put fractions in the calculator. Alpha, y equals. So alpha, y equals will give you your fraction menu. So make sure you have that written down. Some of us, when we press alpha, y equals, we forget to press alpha. So what happens is we just press y equals. And then we end up here. So then to go home, you're going to go second mode. That's your go home. Second mode.
Alpha y.
Alpha y equals is for your fraction menu. Second mode is to go back home, back to the calculating screen.
What is alpha y equal to again?
The fractions.
Wait, what is the first one that we did?
Second plus 7. That's preset, the whole calculator. Alright, we talked about using this for your negative. So I would circle this button on your calculator page and write this is your negative. So you use this when multiplying two numbers where one is negative or both are negative. You also use this if you have a negative first. So if you have anything else like you're subtracting, that would be minus.
What if it's like -2 minus 16 and you still -16?
So you would do -2 minus. Right? This button next to alpha, the one that says xt, this is a theta symbol, n, you can use this for x. So instead of pressing or finding the actual x, you can just use this button. If you wanted to use a different variable, anything in green, you use alpha to get to. So alpha, whatever, will get you anything in green. If you need anything in blue, you'll use second. So second, and then anything in blue. So I didn't press those just now, but second for anything in blue, alpha for anything in green. Let's do exponents and cube roots and all those things. So I'm going to type in x. So just press this button. And then if you hit the x squared, that will square whatever you have, but you have to put something in there before you hit that. Otherwise, it'll just look like this. We don't want that.
Yeah.
So whatever you want squared, press that first, then square. However, if you really want it to be a third, or raised to the third power, you can scroll to the left and change it to whatever number you want. You can also, instead of doing that, if, let's say I press X again, I cleared this one first. And I use this little up arrow, period, whatever you want to call it, this above the division symbol, that will also take you into the exponent place. So you have different options for that. Some of you were asking earlier, where is the square root? And that is in blue above the x squared. So second x squared will get you there. The cube root, however, you have to go looking for. So everyone go into math, the button underneath alpha. And then the fourth one. So math 4 will get you your cube root. Do not put in an exponent of 3 and a square root. It will not be the same answer. Do your cube root. Right? We'll do a couple more things. I'm going to clear this out. If you want absolute value, you're going to go alpha window. Alpha window for absolute value, and it's that first one. I'm going to clear out of this. If you forgot where any of those things are, you can always go into the catalog, which is above 0. It's in blue, so second 0 will take you to the catalog where everything is. If you ever forget where something is. Right? And this is just using the calculator in general. So I'm going to go back home, second mode. And I'm going to type in a random, something random, like 8 plus 6.
7.
Let's say I really wanted this to be minus. I can scroll over to the left and just type directly on top of it to change it. I don't have to clear out everything. Let's say I also meant to make this 18 instead of 8. I can go all the way over, This DEL button is delete, but it's also insert. So if I hit second DEL, I can put in numbers. I misread it. I thought it was 18. It actually wasn't, so I can delete numbers. So you don't have to use clear. You can if you want. You can also go up like this. So let's say you did it already, you found the answer, but you meant to actually add. You can go back up, make sure it's highlighted, press enter, and then go over and change it. There will be more things that we learn about the calculator throughout the year. That was like basics.
How did you highlight?
Scroll back up to whatever you want, and then press enter. Right. Any other questions about the calculator in general, specific, where something was, anything like that? Right. Now let's do desmos. So you all used the scientific calculator before. We are using the graphing calculator. Your iPad should be unlocked in here momentarily. Either or, they'll both work. But do this on the iPhone.
When we take tests, will we use iPads?
Very rarely.
But if we would rather use them, we'll do that.
So for tests and quizzes, you guys won't be using Desmos almost at all. You'll be using the calculators. Now for practice, you can use Desmos. You need to know how to use Desmos for the SOL, but I also have to teach you how to use the calculators for your next class. Alright, Desmos things. If you want to make the graph thicker, bigger, easier to read, you can go into the wrench and press the bigger A, and the lines will become thicker, bigger, easier to read. There is a keyboard in Desmos. So some of you may have stuff from previous classes. Well, you can get rid of that stuff by pressing the X's over here. But if you go into the keyboard, that's where a lot of the stuff that you'll find. So your variables, your numbers, your operations, your parentheses, absolute value, your exponents, your square root, your inequalities, all that stuff. Right? If you need something outside of this, so let's say you are typing on your computer, on your school computer. The exponents are there, but if you wanted to type in your exponents, so let's say I'm using the variable x, and I want a different exponent, instead of using the a squared or the a to the b, I can hit shift 6. So shift, hold shift, and then press 6, and it will raise it to the exponent. Put in whatever you want. There is an absolute value button, the absolute value bars with the A. But if you're typing on your computer, you can also type in ABS with parentheses, and then whatever you put in, it will take the absolute value of. Yes. Yours was a little earlier, though. Did you? Okay. The square root is right here. There's a button for it. But if you are typing on your computer, you can type in the letters SQRT. You can do that from these ABC letters as well. And it will transform itself to a square root. Cube root is the same. You can type in the letters CBRT. and it will transform itself to a cube root. If you forget where those letters are or forget those letters, you can go into functions. So everyone go into functions. And scroll all the way down. And then look for the nth root. Then you can put a 3 there and put whatever else you need underneath. So those are two different ways to find your cube root. Okay. Questions about any of those so far? Just a couple more Desmos things. Okay. I'm going to put in a random order pair, so let's call that parentheses 0, comma 0. It's going to plot whatever point you put in. You can label it if you want. It'll label it as whatever the order pair is, or if you want to change the name to something different, I'm just going to type in a bunch of random letters. You can type in whatever you want. If you want multiple order pairs, you can do one of two things. Either put it in here, so I'm just going to put in another random order pair, and it will plot both of those for you, or you can put that here. So you can either put it in the next line or put them all in the same line, up to you. If you zoom out a bunch and then you can't see your points, or want to get back to that where you were, if you press home, it'll take you back to that 10 by 10. Okay. And then someone give me a random fraction. Whatever fraction you want, it really doesn't matter. So let's say we put in 2/3. 2 divided by 3. It's going to give you whatever the decimal is. And then on the side, you can change it to the fraction. It will put it in simplest form for you. Right. So you can go to the next line by just clicking it, or you can add expression from the plus. We'll do tables later. And then this will be the last one. Everyone type in this expression. 3a plus 6. So you can get to the a by going to the ABC. 3a plus 6. And then you're going to see something that says add a slider. Go ahead and add that slider by pressing the A. This is going to help you for what we're about to do, checking your work when we evaluate. You can put in any specific number. So let's say I want this to be 10. It will put this in and tell me what this is when A is 10. You can put in random numbers. You can put in from this number to this number, what would these be? You can let it play and see all the different numbers, all of those different numbers.
Oh, it's moving.
It is. Right? So when we go into what we're going to talk about, you can use Desmos to check yourself. I did not show you how to do this part on the calculator, but if you would like to know, let me know, and I can show you that as well. Okay. Take 2 seconds. Stand, stretch your limbs. You've been sitting for a minute. Now, find this page in the evaluating notes. And first, does anyone know what it means to evaluate? Basically, we're substituting, replacing whatever the variable is with the number they give us. Like the substitution property we talked about the other day. Right? So like for this one, we would take this -8 and we put it where n is. So that we no longer have the variable but just the numbers, and then we figure out what that would equal. What would this equal? -32. And that's all we're really doing. Taking, replacing, and then doing whatever math is necessary. So for these, I want you to show me that you put the number in where it goes, using parentheses, always use parentheses. And then that your math is right at each step, or that you're showing the math at each step. So for example, let's try this one. I would put 12 in for D. Right now, you could multiply -4/3 and 12 in your calculator. In Desmos, you could do it by hand. That part doesn't matter. You just need to show me what you've got afterwards. So if you're doing it by hand, remember that you can put 12 below 1. You're multiplying -16. And then you would subtract. So we're doing our order of operations when we evaluate. If you wanted to check yourself, you could put all of this into Desmos or the calculator. You could put this into Desmos, add D as a slider. If you wanted to do this process in the calculator, you would have to use X, and I would have to show you how exactly to do that. Or you could just put it in using those terms. Right, so do that really quickly. Make sure you got the same thing in Desmos with calculator. Do you know where the vacuums are? Right now. Alright, let's do another. 3a squared plus 1, where a is 1/2. So we're going to put 1/2 in for a, use parentheses. The square is going to go outside of those parentheses. And then order of operations. What are we doing first? The x on it. So then what would 1/2 squared be?
Well,
There's point something. 0.25. Because this one's 0.5. So when we square it, we're really squaring both of these things. And then order of operations, we would multiply next. So again, if you're multiplying by hand, this would be over 1. You would multiply across. And then add these two. When you add these two, make sure you get an improper, not a mixed number. So where the numerator is bigger than the denominator.
5 over 4.
Double check that. You're close.
Wait, it's 1.75. Hold on.
Or
7 over. Oh, got it right.
if you were doing this by hand, you would put this over 4, because the denominator seems to be the same, multiply this by 4, and then you'd be adding. Alright, let's do a couple more. We're going to do this one. Alright, this one. So same as before, but now we have two variables. Same process. The -2 times the absolute value of 4. We're going to put both of these in. The 4 for A and the 6 for B. And then order of operations, what would we do first? So what's inside the absolute value, but then we have to multiply before we do anything else. So multiply those two. Then we still need to do what's inside the absolute value, so subtract.
And then do 2.
Absolute value measures distance, so it can't be negative. So after there's nothing else to do inside the absolute value, you just make it positive and change these to parentheses. And then multiply and then add. So our final answer would be 1.
Hi.
Questions about that one?
No.
Yes. Alright, last one, and then any you guys want to do together, and then you have time to practice. Alright, this one. Same as before, we have 2 variables, but now we have something that has a cube root. So this is 2 times the cube root, not 2 cubed times the square root. Be careful with that. So if you want to put parentheses around this, you can. Order of operations, what are we doing first?
The
Parentheses.
cube, the 26.
The cube root. So we can do this, but also eventually we're going to have to subtract it, so we can multiply this at the same time. So find the cube root of 27.
I got it. I don't even have to fill in. 9? What did you mind?
Think about what times what times what. So it has to be the same number, because multiply 3 times to be 27. Would 9 times 9 times 9 give you 27? So be careful there, because it's not 27 divided by 3. It's 27 divided by the same number 3 times. So be very careful there. We're going to get into exponents and radicals and stuff later. And then our final answer would be
3. Oh, I love the number.
Right. We skipped over a bunch. Are there any on this page or on the back of this page? They're very similar questions. But are there any that we want to see, do, as you go over, have questions about ones that we skipped over or any on the back?
There's one that we didn't do. It was 3a squared, where a equals 4.
This one?
Yeah, and I wanted to say I did it incorrectly at first, but then I did it correctly and I got the exact same answer.
Okay, let's see.
I got 144 both times. I did it the wrong order of operations the first time.
Okay. Did you use parentheses?
I used the parentheses, but I did the exponent outside of removing the parentheses the first time.
Okay. So the exponent should be on the outside.
Yeah.
And when you put this in, you would get a positive 16. And then you would just multiply.
I got 48.
So before you get 40.
I did it first.
So let me see what you did.
Because I thought the exponent would
So this, unless the 3 and a are in parentheses, that only gives us 5. Okay. I think it's counselor. So not right now, but in a moment when we're practicing, we can go. Okay. Other questions that we skipped over / questions on the back that we want to do go over? Yes.
What is it? Like
I would choose only on A. Like rounding boards.
And this is what I would just explain to Kate. Here, unless you see parentheses around both the 3 and the A, the square is only being applied to A. You can think about this like this. Other questions, ones we want to go over? Anything like that on the ones we skipped over, slash the ones on the back? Okay. So then, for the remainder of class, you are going to work on these things. 1, finish the rest of these examples on the first page. Do the rest of these examples on the first page. If you feel like you want to keep doing more practice, you can try the ones on the back slash the last page. If you want even more practice, you can grab this page from up here. If after you finish that first page, you feel like you got it, you want to do the Delta Math that's due on Friday, you do that. But Delta Math doesn't happen until after you finish this page. You did it already.
Yes. I will make
Right? Questions on what we're doing for the rest of the class? You can work together, move around, use desmos to check yourself, but make sure you are doing the work.